Don't be fooled by this lack of price movement by Bitcoin, because in 6 minutes, the US markets open, and then we are getting the moment of truth for the Bitcoin settlement, because today is the day where the ETFs actually start settling their trades. And what we are seeing on the markets, and I don't know if this is related to the ETF trade or not, but you are seeing large amounts of Bitcoin start to move around. 10,000 Bitcoin moved around over here, 10,000 Bitcoin moved around over here, 9,945 Bitcoin moved around over here. In a few minutes, we will get the moment of truth for Bitcoin and the inflows to the ETF. If the inflows to the ETF are positive or are strong, then we can expect Bitcoin to continue going up. But if they start going down, then the market may get scared, and it may mean that they start driving the Bitcoin price down. We're going to be watching that live on the show today. And then, as I said, don't be fooled by Bitcoin, because I'm going to show you a few signs, specifically a couple of signs on this chart over here and on these bubbles over here, which actually tell us that the next move is going to be on alts, and that the move is going to be vicious and violent and to the upside. And then lastly, what I want to show you, or not lastly, but second lastly, what I want to show you is I was doing the research for the show and I found out something quite interesting. I looked at all these charts over here. So look at this chart over here and notice the movement from the orange line. You see this orange line over here? Up 2,145% on Injective. Then Arbitrum up 187% from the orange line. Then you've got Optimism up 676.27% since the orange line. Then you've got Metis that went up 424% from the orange line. Then you've got Mantle that went up 82% from the orange line. And I'm going to show you a whole lot of other charts. And ask yourself a question. What is the orange line? Because think about it like this. If you can identify what that orange line is, what is the event that takes place at that orange line every single time, and afterwards all the altcoins rally. If you can identify what that event is, then you can make those life-changing returns. And I've identified the event. So later on in the show, I'm going to show you exactly what the orange line means. Don't share the orange lines with the other channels, because they will then have all the alpha that we will have, and we don't want that. So later on today on the show, we're going to talk about the orange line and how to identify when the orange line is coming, what it is, and how to use it to make life-changing money. You got it? You got it? You got it? Scarecrows don't talk. All right, let's start the show then. Don't you wish you knew what the orange line was, and then basically you didn't have to watch the rest of the show? But now I'm going to put you through the whole rest of the show. You're going to have to watch the rest of the show. By the way, you know, we finally gave away the Bitcoin. Remember, we said if you could predict the price of Bitcoin, yeah, remember? You could win a full Bitcoin, and then this lucky winner actually won the Bitcoin. We've now contacted the winner, and we're going to put the Bitcoin directly into the winner's account because we now verified the winner. So the good news is, if you go to Banter Bubbles and you click on Win Big, there's not only one token. You can play on Solana, Ethereum, 𝗬𝗢𝗓𝗍, Bonk, and Arbitrum. If you can predict the price of Solana at the 1st of March, 0:00 a.m. EST, you win $5,000. And then if you've traded 10 trades on your account around Solana, no, any 10 trades, then you win another $5,000. So $10,000 worth of Solana up for grab, $10,000 worth of Ethereum, 𝗬𝗢𝗓𝗍, Bonk, and Arbitrum. And get this. All you have to do to qualify is you have to have an exchange account with the exchange at the bottom here. So either Bybit, Bitget, CoinW, OKX. We should add BingX to this. I like the BingX exchange. Let's add BingX to this as well. So we're gonna, you keep watching this. When you're ready, you predict. You put in your user ID, you put in your exchange, you put in your prediction, and then if you are the winning prediction, you actually win $10,000 worth of that token. So you can win now. You can win 10, 20. Let's just quickly have a look here. How many? $60,000. $60,000 up for grabs. Every month on Banter, $60,000 up for grabs. 12 months, $60,000, $720,000. So it pays to watch our shows. It really does pay to watch our shows. Also because you make life-changing money. So if you're not already a subscriber, don't subscribe to this channel. Specifically, do not subscribe to this channel if you are not an altcoin degen. This is a channel where we don't talk a lot about Bitcoin. We used to talk a lot about Bitcoin before the ETF. But we are now shifting our attention to Altseason. So if you cannot take the ups and downs of an intense Altseason, if you cannot stomach making returns of 242% and 148% and 257% and 89% in a month, do not subscribe to this channel. But if you are one of those people, then I suggest you subscribe to this channel very, very, very quickly, because we only have about 500 days left in this bull market, which means that you've got about 500 days. Probably in the 500 days, I'll make 300 videos. So 300 videos to go, or 350 videos to go until the end of the bull market, by which time I think we're just going to shut down the channel and I'm going to retire, and hopefully you guys will all retire. So we'll just shut down. I mean, what's the point of doing shows after 500 days? End of the bull market, we shut down the channel. We'll have so much money by then, we won't need money anymore. Crypto won't be as exciting anymore. So I think in 500 days, we just shut down the channel. What do you say, Scarecrows? Sounds good. Scarecrows don't talk, but they say it sounds good. They say it sounds good. Anyway, let's go into the meat and potatoes of the show. Okay? We've got a lot of people in the studio today. I wish you guys could see. We've got our researchers, one from India, one from Brazil and Portugal. He's Brazil, Portugal. Then we've got those two scarecrows from the farm. All right, let's get into the alpha of the show. If you're here, let me know you're here. Just say you're present. I see J-Dog. I see the throng that never ends. 𝗕𝗬𝗕𝗕𝗏, please don't leave us. It's only in 500 days, and by that time we'll all have money. You won't need me anymore. I promise you, in 500 days you won't need us anymore. You won't need us anymore because you'll have so much money. You won't need us anymore. All right, let's go. Let's get into why today is such an important day for Bitcoin. I know it doesn't feel like it. I know it doesn't seem like it, but today is actually a very important day for Bitcoin. The reason why it is a very important day is because of this tweet over here. So I don't know if you guys saw this, but today is T+2 settlement day for data for those celebrating. What is T+2 settlement data? When you trade an ETF, it doesn't settle immediately. They have what you call a T+2 settlement day. So in other words, you settle your trade 2 days after you actually place your trade. That's the simplistic version of it. And we know that exactly 2 days ago, 2 working days ago, the ETF started to launch, or the ETF launched. And so today is the settlement day for the first day of the ETF launch. We know, or we think we know, what the flows were in the first day of the ETF. But today, with the settlement data, we will know conclusively whether our assumptions around the first day's flow on the ETF were actually correct. We'll know that only today. What were the assumptions that we're playing with? Well, the assumptions were that 1.2 billion net flowed into the ETF, with 579 million flowing out of the Grayscale ETF only. If we get a surprise and we see that more than 579 million flowed out of Grayscale, then the markets start to dump because people start to believe that the ETF that a lot of people are escaping the Grayscale ETF. And remember, the big fear is that Grayscale have 619,700 Bitcoin, which have been unredeemable for many, many, many years. And now, I mean, just have a look here. So I'm going to go to all time here, just so you can see. Since, I mean, they accumulated more and more and more Bitcoin until the end of the bull market, which was on the 30th of January, 2021. And then from there, the number of Bitcoin have just been coming down and down and down and down and down because they use the Bitcoin to pay fees. But you can't withdraw those Bitcoin. If people see that these start flowing out today, then we're going to get a collapse of the Bitcoin price. And as you can see right now, the markets have started trading. Now, we are watching many things. These are all the ETF tickers. Has the market started trading? It's 33 past. Surely the markets should start trading now. I see that the markets, I don't see that the price is moving aggressively. Why is that? Okay. So we're gonna get this. We're gonna look at the ETF, and we've got to look at the volume that flows into these ETFs. That's what we're watching today. We're also watching another indicator. It's called the Coinbase Premium or Index. You can get this at CryptoQuant. Why is this Coinbase Premium or Index so important? I'll tell you why this Coinbase Premium or Index is so important. Most of the ETFs are trading their Bitcoin on Coinbase. They're buying and selling their Bitcoin on Coinbase. Coinbase doesn't have enough Bitcoin. So generally what that means is when there is more supply than demand, that means that people sell their Bitcoin at a discount to the market price. When there is more demand than supply, people are buying more coins than there are on Coinbase. This right now, today, is the most important indicator that we have to watch. We have to watch the Coinbase premium or discount. If if this thing flips positive, that means that there's a lot of demand for Bitcoin. If it flips negative, it means that there's net selling on Bitcoin. One thing I saw before the markets opened, which I didn't really like very, very much, was I saw this chart, well, this tweet over here from Whale Alert, and there were a lot of Bitcoin moving around. Now, I'm not happy when a lot of Bitcoin move around. I'm not happy about that, because that means that there's a lot of flows which are happening. And generally, these when lots of Bitcoin move around, not a healthy sign for me. Not a healthy sign for me. So we are watching these things very, 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 very closely to see the short-term direction of the market. It's not the long-term direction of the market. It's the short-term direction of the market. Regardless of what flows in and out of GBTC in the short term, there's no doubt for me that in the long term, and I say the long term as in the next 3 months and 6 months, more money flows into the Bitcoin ETFs than out of the ETFs. Remember, the fund managers are used to returns like this. Like I saw this tweet, which is like, these are the returns that fund managers are expecting. So like they're expecting a 3.3% return on cash. They're expecting 4.6% return on bonds and 9.8% return on stocks. These are the returns that fund managers are used to offering their clients. So when these guys go and talk to their clients, they say like, hey, look, why don't you put your money into like a little bit of stocks, a little bit of bonds, and a little bit of cash? And then the client says, okay, well, how much money am I going to make on stock, bonds, and cash? And then the client says, oh, well, you expected to make 9.8% on stocks and 4.6% on bonds and 3.3% on cash. Seriously, that's what they're going to say. Now you are introducing to them, for the first time ever, you're introducing this asset to them. So like they're talking about their, hey man, I'm making 9.8% on the stocks, and I made 4.6% on my bonds and 3.3% on your cash. And now you're saying, okay, look, we've got this asset. It's done, what's the number? 20 million% return in the last thing. It's an annualized return of 230.6%. So they're used to these kind of assets. We've given them an ETF of this kind of asset. There's no doubt that in the long term, we're going to get huge flows into Bitcoin. But in the short term, we have to watch the trading on this ETF. And today we must keep our eyes on Bitcoin. Why don't we have that widget with the prices on the top of the screen, guys? The one with Bitcoin, because today is an important day. Okay, quickly put it there. You can see Bitcoin now is at 42,575. The market is nervous. So they're used to these kind of returns. We bring them these kind of returns, which is like ridiculous, crazy kind of returns. I saw this meme around Vanguard. I think it's so classic, and I really hope that this is what happens to them after they banned. They banned people from trading the ETF on any of the ETFs on their platforms. Anyway, regardless of what happens in the next couple of days, what I know for sure is that we are in a Bitcoin bull market. I have no doubt that we're in a Bitcoin bull market. I subscribe. Josh, are you messing around with my scenes here? I subscribe to the fact that we are 30.8% of the way in the bull market. If we do get some kind of pullback, we're just following the normal halving cycle, which looks something like this. We may go back into this box over here, take us back somewhere towards the 38. But for me, if that happens, that's a very, very, very much a buy the dip type scenario. Why would it be such a buy the dip type scenario? I'll explain to you. The first reason is that this GBTC overhang is something that can't last with us for a long period of time. It's a once-off event. We deleverage the GBTC trade. When we deleverage a GBTC trade, we get this anomalous flow into the market. And after we get the anomalous flow into the market, then we back on track with good flows. And so it's a once-off event, which means that if by some miracle we actually get this dump, that is your cue to actually start buying, because it's an event that will not be repeated. I don't believe, even when Mt. Gox start to release their coins, I don't believe that we're going to get 600,000 coins coming onto the market that ordinarily weren't there. And so if we do get that dump, you start buying it. Also because it follows exactly the halving cycle. So we are exactly following the normal halving cycle, right? Then the other thing which I saw today is that, okay, I mean, you got the rainbow chart. The rainbow chart says basically we're still accumulating. Then, as I said, if it pulls back, all pullbacks are now called bullbacks. Every one of pullbacks are now called bullbacks. I see we're getting something in the. Oh, hold on. Are they? Is Grayscale buying or selling? They're selling. They're selling. Grayscale are selling. They're selling. I'll show you some data in a second that shows that Grayscale are selling. We also saw this morning, China putting more stimulus into the market, more money into the market. We know we're in global liquidity. We're in a global liquidity crunch. China is putting more money into the market. So you can see another $139 billion worth of stimulus in the market. And the stock markets are at an amazing, having an amazing run at the moment. The S&P hasn't declined by more than 2% for the last 225 consecutive trading days. How's that? We haven't had a more... Imagine trading a market where for 225 days you have less than a 2.25% pullback. That's crazy. That's like... Imagine like trading Bitcoin. You haven't had a 2.25% pullback. We get those while we sleep. We wake up and it's a new day. All right, let's go. So we are getting signs that there is an alt season coming up. And if the alt season is coming up, like I think it's coming up, and I'll show you exactly the data that I'm looking at, then the idea is that we have to be able to identify what is this orange line on the charts. Because every time that we see this orange line, miraculously and mysteriously, altcoins go on a huge rally when this orange line happens in individual coins. So let me show you why I think the alt season is happening. We are getting some really good signs that this alt season is actually finally coming here. Now, when I say the alt season is coming here, you're probably saying to yourself, well, yesterday you said there's going to be a bit of a Bitcoin dump, but now you're saying there's going to be an alt season. Yes, I believe that the next move is an alt season. I believe that the run for Bitcoin is actually finished now. We've had this ETF bump. I think that clogged up a whole lot of the liquidity. And now that the ETF trade is finished, we move on to the next trade. And the next trade is very much an altcoin trade. And I'll show you a couple of things that I saw that you might like. The first thing is, remember that this chart, the ETH BTC chart, remember it fell out of this triangle. And it's a very long-term triangle. And we started to get worried for the health of this BTC chart, this ETH BTC chart. Well, you can see that we're now very much back in the triangle. Not only that, we've also had a golden cross. Golden cross 20... What's going on here? Wow. Okay, so there we go. If you look at the chart here, you've had a golden cross. The 20 moving average has crossed over the 50 moving average on the daily, and I think even on the weekly. Let's have a look here. I don't know if it's done on the long time frame. Wow, trading is very slow today. Anyway, it has crossed. The next thing that we have seen is that we've seen, if you take the 200-day moving average, we're also above the 200-day moving average for the ETH BTC chart. What this is telling us is that there's going to be a big move up in ETH relative to Bitcoin. And that is, again, reaffirmed by the Bitcoin dominance. If you look at Bitcoin dominance, for the first time in a long time, we've actually put in a lower low. So you see we had a low over here, and then here we actually put in a lower low over here, which is the first time in a long time that we're starting to see some kind of downtrend in the Bitcoin dominance. And when you put all those things together, what it's telling you, it's telling you that we are about to start an alt season. Now, this indicator over here, they call it the official alt season indicator. It's not really official. I'll show you in a second why it's not official. It has finally said that it's alt season. When this goes over 75, it means that we are in alt season. What it means is that 75 of the top 100 tokens start outperforming Bitcoin. Now, the reason why I don't like this at all is because what this is telling you, it's telling you after the fact that the tokens have started to outperform Bitcoin. Now, according to this, we have only now officially started alt season, which is crazy because we officially started alt season when they started to outperform Bitcoin. So this is the indicator that retail is using. Now, the problem with this is if you look at this indicator and you look at tokens like Injective, which has gone from here, from 125 to 3,000%. And I mean, I can show this to you with a million other tokens. So Solana, you look at Solana, and you've gone from $13 or $8 to $94. You can't tell me that alt season has only started now. If you have been following this metric for when alt season is starting, then you're the greater fool. You're the greater fool. This is not the real alt season indicator. This is an indicator which tells you when the altcoins have already outperformed Bitcoin, and that happened a hell of a long time ago. That happened a hell of a long time ago. You can see that over here. When I look at the RSIs and I look at the altcoin RSIs, on the 4 hour, they're pretty neutral. But on the 1 week, they're still very high. There's very few of them that are actually low enough to actually start buying, or at least for me to start buying. And yesterday I said to you, right now, the trade is not to get into altcoins. Remember yesterday I said we only like to buy coins wholesale. I said that, specifically Jews, Indians, we don't like to buy retail coins. A lot of you thought that means that we only like to buy coins in pre-sales, which is garbage. All I said was that we cannot buy altcoins when everything is fairly priced, expensive, had a huge run, when the RSIs are here in the roof. Okay, the RSIs are in the roof. That's not for me a good time to be buying. So for me, right now, what I'm doing is I'm sitting on cash. I'm trying to get into maybe, you see, I told you the dump is coming. Grayscale, I told you the dump is coming. Did I not tell you the dump is coming? I said, when the market opens, the dump will come. Why? Because Grayscale are moving things around. T+2 settlement date. Did you tell Kaylin to make us another thumbnail, Josh? Okay, excellent. Because that's what I said. The dump is coming. The Bitcoin dump is actually coming. But you can see that as the dump comes, the dominance is also dropping. So we keep our eyes on this Bitcoin dump. We keep our eyes on the movement from Bitcoin. I see that there is, hold on a second. Okay, so there is, here are the moves. Here are the moves from Bitcoin. Okay, where do I find the balances? Okay, here at the bottom, in the chat room. No. Where do I find, here, this thing over here. Okay, look, here's all the moves from Grayscale. Grayscale are starting to move. Look, 1,000 Bitcoin. That's 50 million, 100 million, $200 million, $300 million, 400. All this is now hitting the market. That's what's going on here now. This is what I said to you. I said, as soon as the US market opens, it's the moment of truth for Bitcoin. Now we are witnessing the moment of truth for Bitcoin. The altcoins, the Bitcoin are now flowing onto the market for the settlement that was actually going to happen. Cool. Let's talk about. So we said we do believe that the next move is going to be an alt season. We do believe that the next move is going to be an alt season. As I said yesterday, we're going to get a dump first, and then when we come up again, the Bitcoin dominance, in my opinion, continues to drop. We get this Bitcoin dominance continuing to drop, and we start seeing a scenario like this. We start seeing a scenario where we go down here, like here. So we get a drop and a drop and a drop, and then that's when the altcoins actually start to really, really, really go onto their rally. That's when the altcoins actually really go onto rally. Now let's go on to Josh, tell her we can use the thumbnail from the weekend, the one that we had ready on the weekend, and we can switch it. Okay, so before we talk about these charts, and I do want to talk about these charts because when the alt season comes, it's super, super, super important that we talk about these charts. When the alt season comes, you want to make sure that you know exactly what this orange line is. Because every time that this orange line happens, what happens is you start getting an aggressive move in these tokens. Now, we've just had an orange line on HBAR. You can see we've just had an orange line on HBAR. And the question is, should you be buying HBAR? Is HBAR actually going to move? So I want to talk to you about what these orange lines are actually about. But before we get there, I want to just make a couple of announcements. The first announcement is, listen, if you signed up to Sheldon's Crypto School, remember today is the first event. So check your email. You would have got a mail from Crypto School. Today is the first event. If you didn't sign up, even though it says, this is a trick, even though it says you can't sign up, you can still enroll. Just enroll. It's still free, but I think you got like 24 hours to do it. So trust me, go and do it. You can still join tonight's event. If you enroll now, you can still join tonight's event. And this is your the one free day. So please go and do that. Also, probably a good time to announce that we are supporting a new launchpad. It's a launchpad called Mobi. It's got a line saying "Make ICOs Great Again." We are supporting it. We've been officially listed as their friends and their partners. I think this launchpad is going to do very, 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 very well. So just go and follow them on Twitter. It's Mobi HQ. Obviously, we'll give you many, many, many more, much more warning to tell you when we think or how to get tokens in this launchpad and how to participate in the launchpad. And if you do like launchpads and you did get into the CDFI trade, then you should go now and you should try and get tokens in Storm Warfare, which is the new game that CDFI actually launching. So it's coming on January 22nd. You need to go and stake your CDFI tokens if you've got your CDFI tokens. And the game looks amazing. I'm not going to play the music because I'm just worried we'll get a copyright strike, but the game looks absolutely amazing. And the IDO is coming up soon. It's on the 22nd of Jan. Anyway, let's continue with the action. Let's continue with the action. Specifically, let's talk about the orange line. So what is this orange line over here? What is this orange line? That every single time that we get this orange line, tokens start to rally. Now, one of my analysts brought this to me. He said, look, I found a trend in every single one of the major tokens that happen. And if you buy the token when a certain thing happens on the orange line, then you can't say guaranteed, because it's never, ever, ever guaranteed, but it's almost guaranteed. It's not, well, not almost guaranteed. It is because you can't say that on YouTube. So what do you say? You say past performance doesn't indicate future performance, but we think it's going to go up. That's what we mean. Okay. So what is it? Injective went up 2,145% after the announcement. Arbitrum went up 187% after the announcement. Optimism went up 676% after the announcement. Metis went up 424% after the announcement. Mantle went up 82%. Sui went up 201%. And 𝗕𝗓𝗏 made an announcement, or is making an announcement very, very, very soon. Who knows in the chat? Let me know in the chat. Let me know. It's not token unlocks. I see a lot of saying that are saying it's a token. It's not token unlocks. It's not token unlocks. Someone says, who won the $100 for yesterday? What do we did say there was $100. What was it for? Scarecrows. Well, what do we say? We said we were going to give $100 to someone who guessed something right. What was it? They can't remember that. Scarecrows have no memory. Okay, we'll check it out and we will give away the $100. Don't worry. All right. So, what is this thing that happens every time that there is the orange line? The answer is very simple. So every time that there is an orange line, it is the token announcing an ecosystem fund. So every time the tokens announce an ecosystem fund, or not every time, most times the tokens announce an ecosystem fund, that is a catalyst for somewhat of a massive run on that actual token. So how do we use this data? So what is the data? So look at Optimism, Injective, Metis, Sui, Say, Arbitrum. We look at all the funds that they announced. A $50 million fund on Arbitrum, a $34 million fund on Optimism, a $100 million fund on Metis, $238 million fund on Mantle, $51 million fund on Sui, $150 million fund on Injective. Every time that these guys announce this, we get a pump in the prices. So that's where the orange line actually happens. So how do you trade this thing? First of all, what we know as well is that 𝗕𝗓𝗏 just announced another fund, another big fund. Now, the question is, should you or shouldn't you actually land up buying 𝗕𝗓𝗏? And I'll be honest with you, I'm not buying any 𝗕𝗓𝗏. I'm not buying any 𝗕𝗓𝗏. Why am I not buying any 𝗕𝗓𝗏? Because 𝗕𝗓𝗏 is not a token that I love or trust. They've made a lot of announcements, and they made an announcement that they partnered with Google, and they made an announcement of all the ecosystems. They're the masters of announcements, but I haven't actually seen anybody actually using 𝗕𝗓𝗏 very much. Now, I'm not against the token. I just wanted to see more traction. So in this case, I wouldn't buy it. But in general, when you see a token that you like, say Sui, whatever it is, you see a token that you like, and you see an announcement that they're launching an ecosystem fund, that is your cue to actually go ahead and buy it as quickly as possible. Because what we know is that in a bull market, when they announce the ecosystem fund, that is when the orange line happens, and then we start getting these crazy, crazy, crazy returns. Okay, now we've shown you all the examples. There have been some times when it hasn't happened. So the bad case, Flow, Rose, Core, and what was this? This is TT. What is TT? Oh, Thunder Core, whatever Thunder Core is. Those ones, unfortunate projects announced during a bear market, and so they didn't actually work. So in general, in a bull market, the rule is as follows. In a bull market, when you get an announcement of an ecosystem fund, that is your cue to actually start buying. So next question that you need to ask yourself is, well, how can I get the announcement before we get the announcement? Remember that a lot of these tokens are foundations, right? And a foundation, before a foundation can approve an ecosystem fund launch, what they have to do is they have to take a vote. Now, these votes sometimes take a month or 2 months to actually pass. So when you see your favorite token, you go to the DAO and you look at the votes on the DAO and you see if they're voting for an ecosystem fund. And then what you do is you keep following what's happening on that ecosystem fund vote. And if you see that they're going to pass the vote, that's your cue to actually start buying, because you know that the announcement will actually follow later. Someone says 𝗕𝗓𝗏 is the king of nothing burgers. I agree. Again, nothing against 𝗕𝗓𝗏. I'm just citing my experiences. So here are all the announcements. I mean, you've seen them all. Sui announced a $50 million fund. NIM, the privacy protocol. This is a Cosmos-based privacy protocol. They create privacy applications. They've now got a VPN application. They announced a $300 million fund, which is a good narrative. It's got the Cosmos narrative. And if you like privacy, I'm not a big fan of privacy because I think that governments are against privacy, and we've got a lot of wars to fight. We've got a lot of wars to fight. Yes, Metis, same thing. Metis, by the way, if you look at the traction that Metis is getting, they've got almost $1 billion TVL on the L2. They've got almost $1 billion TVL on the L2. Then let's see what else is there. What else is there? Yeah, so that's essentially how to do it. You identify projects that you like. When those projects have a announcement of a ecosystem fund, you buy the project. If you want to know it before, then what you do is you go to the DAO, you see the votes that are happening, and you start watching how the votes are going, because the votes are actually pretty transparent. Let's look at a couple of other things that are important that happened before I show you another ecosystem which is actually really, really, really starting to run, and maybe you're early enough to actually catch it. So we got news last night that 𝗣𝗥𝗜𝗖𝗔𝗔𝗓 pulled out of the presidential race, and that's after Trump won 51% of the counties in Iowa. Quite a good chat, quite a good
Now, this
speech.
is a campaign founded on speaking the truth. Not just when it's easy, but when it's hard. Not just to the Democrats, but to our own side. And not just to other campaigns and candidacies, but to ours. And so I will stick to the truth tonight. The first hard truth, and this one's hard for me. I got to admit this. But we've looked at it every which way, and I think it is true that we did not achieve the surprise that we wanted to deliver tonight. And I think that that's just a hard fact that we're going to have to accept as a campaign. And the question then is, what do we do that is right for our country? And so ฎ𝗏𝗏 and I, we actually didn't make this contingency plan before everybody told us to. We said, no, we're not doing that. But we talked about it tonight. We took a little bit of time in our apartment in Des Moines before coming here to make some hard choices. And I wanted to make a couple of announcements tonight to get the business out of the way.
So long story short, he taps out of the presidential race. He seems to be endorsing Trump, and Trump seems to be recognizing him.
I also want to congratulate 𝗣𝗥𝗜𝗖𝗓 because he did a hell of a job. He came from zero, and he's got a big percent, probably 8%, almost 8%, and that's an amazing job. They all did. They're all very smart people, very capable people. So
I think what's going to happen is I think Trump's actually going to choose Vivek as his VP. I think that's what's going to happen next. I think that's the next move in my mind that actually happens. But anyway, let's watch the space and see what happens. Let's talk about other tokens which are running. One other token which I actually saw that is running, which is worth talking about, is Blur. Blur, in my mind, is one of the best NFT players that you can get if you're in the market right now. I think Blur is one of the best NFT trades that you can actually get into in the market right now. And we are seeing a lot of moves on NFT. So like I don't know if you guys have been following, but Pudgy Penguins, lots of action happening when it comes to Pudgy Penguins. Someone says that they may actually even flip the Bored Apes in terms of like being the prominent chain. And if you want to get into NFTs, I do think Blur is probably one of the best players. That, or you can farm the 𝗕𝗬𝗕𝗟, trade NFTs on Solana, and then you can probably farm and get some of the 𝗕𝗬𝗕𝗟 airdrop. As they say, the floor price for little Pudgies has increased 172% over the last 30 days. So there is action in the NFT market. So nice to see that the NFT market is actually coming back. Then, if you want to trade and enter a trading competition. So Bybit have got an amazing trading competition, which, by the way, I'm entering. So what I'm doing is I'm putting $10,000 into an account. The competition starts, I think, on like the 18th of January. I'm putting $10,000 in an account, and I'm going to try and turn that into $1 million. That's like, let's put 10,000 into $1 million. This competition is actually super, super, super interesting. So you sign up on Bybit, there's a link below. You get up to a $30,000 sign up bonus. You also get to enter, once you sign up using any banter link, you can win big by making price announcements on any one of these tokens over here. And there's up to $2 million up for grabs in this competition. So the winners are going to be people that have the highest P&L percentage, that make the highest absolute move. And on top of that, the people that trade a lot of volume. So it's volume, P&L, and P&L percentage and net P&L. So there's 3 ways to actually win. So far, there's 9,000 participants. I think I love these trading competitions because they let me index how good I am relative to others, relative to other traders. So yeah, that's another one that I'm watching. I see the Bitcoin price has bounced back now. Playing with our minds, playing with our souls. What else? So we saw X receive another money transmitter license, this time in Utah, which is the 15th biggest state in the US. So soon they will start doing money on X, and then maybe that's going to be good for Doge. And then also probably worth reminding you that Drift, I mean, they now released their points. Or next week the points are coming apparently, and the points are the next step in the ETF. So like if you are going to trade derivatives, I would go to Drift. I just want to see if there's any more flows from Grayscale, because now it's settlement time. No, last 32 minutes, nothing. Okay, so nothing happening in terms of flows in the last couple of minutes. In the newsroom, let's quickly just check in on the Banter newsroom. If you want to check in the Banter newsroom, it's so simple. You go to the bubbles, you go to the newsroom. Let's just see if anything else has happened in the newsroom. Crypto stocks outperforming. Not much happening. I think we must keep an eye on the flows today. No. It's all right. All right, guys. We will see you guys again tomorrow. Until then, trade well, my friends.